Hello, I'm going to be doing my reflection journal today, and based on the questions that have been given to me, I'm just going to elaborate on those. And so the first one is how preclinic and clinic are, how I can compare them and contrast them. And honestly, the difference between both of them is that, like, preclinic was very organized, had a strict schedule, like we went by it, had all the same information, like it went very smoothly. And in the clinical portion, I mean, there is a schedule, but every instructor has been different for me, and they've given me around the same information, but they go about it in different ways. So that has been a little confusing for me, just to try to navigate, like, what is right? Am I doing it correctly? Like, I just want to make sure I'm learning through the process. Another thing that's very different between preclinic and clinic is, like, in preclinic, working on each other, our mouths don't really have a lot to note on IO, and there's not a lot of pocket depths for everyone. So it's been a little different from going into clinic, not knowing what your patient's going to present with, and then trying to figure out what is abnormal for them and knowing how to note it. And not having certain classes yet, it makes it a little harder because we don't know everything. And I know we're not expected to know everything, but it just gets a little confusing because we don't know. And I feel like that's where I need to work on, is just to gain that confidence. Is like, I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm not expected to know it all now, and I need to be okay with that. And I feel like that's where my growth needs to come from. So then the next question is talking about the televalve comments from my instructors, and do I have any connection with that? For the question above. And honestly, my comments on televalve have honestly just been mostly focused on where I've gotten off is the IO-EO portion, and just like making sure I'm actually noting the big things that are not normal for that patient, and not necessarily focusing on every single little detail. Yes, I need to know that, but I also need to know what the difference is, because that's the biggest issue there, is pointing that out. And then another thing in my televalve has always been, like, making sure I'm rolling fully and approximately, and just making sure I'm going all the way in, because those are areas where I'm missing calculus, and my technique is good, but I just stop once I get there instead of continuing to keep going. And reading those comments, I feel like I'm growing in that every time because I am aware of it. But I just feel like that could be a continuum where I still grow, where I'm still growing in my instrumentation and all of my techniques. What I want to take into next semester with me is all of the information that I've learned this semester, which is obviously the goal for everyone, but I feel like I have learned so much in such, like, the 8-week clinical portion, like seeing my patients and seeing how to handle, like, deal with them, how to educate them, how to know what's normal for them, what's not. Like, I just want to carry all of that and grow from that, because that's only going to make me a better and more skilled hygienist, is taking every single experience and learning from it and applying what I learned to the next patient. So, the only thing that I feel that hinders my growth in that is because you never know what your patient is going to present with. You can talk to them on the phone all day long, but until you see their mouth and see what's going on in there, you have no idea. And the only other thing that I think hinders my growth is that every instructor is different, and being in this learning process, you have to talk to an instructor, you have to communicate with them, they're helping you learn along the way. And just within this first clinical session, I just feel like I've gotten a lot of different answers on certain things and what their preference is, and that's completely okay, because I know one day I'll be allowed to have my own preference, but it just makes it a little more difficult to learn what is the correct way to do things. And I think that's where this next question is going to come in, about one thing about your experience that I could change, and what would that be? And it honestly would just be if, like, there was, like, a rule book, honestly, of, like, what exactly needs to be taught to us, and not going by the instructor's preference on what they used to do when they were in practice. Like, what is the way that we need to learn at GTCC? And that's, I think, my biggest challenge is because there's like 5 instructors, 6 instructors. Everyone did their own thing when they were in their own practice, and it's like, what are we doing here at GTCC? That's how I want to learn. I think that would just benefit me because that's like the one way, like the standard rule, like that. I think that would benefit not only me, but a lot of my classmates as well, because I think we all have that same confusion. And I think it could benefit future hygiene students to all be on the same page, and we're all expected to be at this standard. So, I don't know exactly how you could implement that because y'all have collaborations, you have all these things, but it's just a matter of like going away from what your preference is and to what we need to be taught as a school. So that's where I see that at. I feel like I have learned a lot, and I hope to carry all of this with me and to continue to learn and become a better student hygienist.